Hey guys, welcome back to today's video. And in today's video, it's going to be a brand new political discussion based video talking about and promoting a ballot initiative that will be on the ballot in Washington, D.C. on November 5th of 2024. And it is Initiative 83, which is a ranked choice voting initiative. Ranked choice voting is spreading throughout this country. It is spreading rapidly. More states such as Idaho, Nevada, Oregon also have ranked choice voting initiatives on their ballots this year. In fact, Nevada did pass ranked choice voting in 2022, but it has to be approved one more time in 2024 to be able to be implemented for future elections for congressional, gubernatorial, state executive, and state legislative elections overall. And it goes to show that the states are truly the laboratories of democracy. They get to experiment and they get to go in different directions and see how ranked choice voting can work in party primary elections, how they can work in general elections, how they can work with top 5 or top 4 open primaries to give independent voters more choice. And also, it can also work in semi-open primary systems as well to allow independent voters to have a voice in a party primary elections. And this type of political experimentation is something I fully support. We are a federal system after all, and it's truly up to the citizens of America in each of the 51 states. No, in each of the 51 jurisdictions. Sadly, to say at least, Washington D.C. right now is not a state, but I'm supportive of Washington D.C. statehood because I believe those voters should have representation in Congress because they pay taxes and contribute to our economy, and they also voted to support it. But that's far from the point from this video because we're not promoting DC statehood in this video because we are promoting a ballot initiative in Washington that will be on the ballot in Washington DC, and if passed, this would create a semi-open primary system allowing voters who are unaffiliated with a political party to vote in a party primary election. And it will also establish ranked choice voting for elections in Washington, D.C. beginning in 2026. So before I explain what ranked choice voting is and also going into detail who the supporters are and the people who are between the supporters and the opposition, for and against it, the people who are for and against this initiative, I will first explain what semi-open primary systems are. So, a semi-open primaries, what is a semi-open primary? Semi-open primaries are a type of partisan primary where independent voters can choose to vote in either the Republican or Democratic Party. Voters who are registered with any specific party can only vote in their own party's primary. So, in this regard, if you are a Republican voter, you can only vote in the Republican primary. And if you're a Democratic voter, you can only vote in the Democratic primary for either U.S. Senate, U.S. Congress, for your city, for state legislatures, for gubernatorial elections, and so forth. But if you are a registered independent voter, you can choose to either vote in the Republican or Democratic primary. So this way, political parties still have the right to associate as they should be because they have a First Amendment right to associate and to have the freedom to nominate their candidates however they please. But it also allows independents to still have a voice in primary elections to ultimately have a say in taxpayer-funded primary elections, which according to United America, believes would be a step in the right direction would be a step in the right direction from closed primaries. And so that's what semi-open primaries are. So ranked choice voting. Here's a video to explain ranked choice voting. Here's the video. I'll let this video play and I'll be right back.
Politics is tearing us apart, and it's because elections aren't working for most of us. Here's why. In the US, each of us can vote for the candidate we like the most, but whenever more than 2 candidates are running to win one seat, it's possible for most voters to hate whoever wins. Because of this split vote, politicians can ignore the will of most voters and still win. Ranked choice voting gives you the freedom to select a backup choice to prevent that from happening. Let's say a group uses ranked choice voting to decide what to eat for dinner tonight. Each voter selects their favorite dish, but also has the option to choose backup dishes. If one food receives more than half the votes, it wins, just like in any other election. But let's get to dessert, where the competition is more fierce. What if no ice cream flavor has more than 50% of the vote? Under a normal race, vanilla would win, even though a majority of voters didn't pick it. With ranked choice voting, the flavor with the fewest votes is eliminated, and voters who chose that flavor as number 1 will have their votes count for their next choice. Everyone gets a say, no one wastes their vote, and the winner is the flavor that the largest number of people agreed upon. That's ranked choice voting. It's as easy as 1, 2, 3. You get more voice and more choice, and that makes elections better for all of us.
So as the video talked about, ranked choice voting is an alternative voting system where instead of voting for one candidate, you are ranking the candidates in order of preference. You rank your favorite candidate as number 1, your second favorite as your number 2 pick, your third choice as your number 3 pick, your fourth choice as your number 4th pick, and so forth. There are 2 different types of ranked choice voting. This system here that they're advocating for is the instant runoff voting system, where you could only elect one winner. There is another ranked choice voting system, which is single transferable vote, or also known as proportional ranked choice voting, where multiple candidates can be elected to a district geographically, either electing between 3 to 5 members. It can also be 6 to 7 members, and also 8 to 9 member candidates, 8 to 9 member districts also. But I will only explain instant runoff voting as it's a bit more simple to understand. So, as I explained with the counting process, ranking candidates in order of preference, and how the counting process works under instant runoff voting, the single winner version of ranked choice voting, is that we count all voters' first choice votes first. Whoever you ranked as number 1 will be counted first. And if one person has more than 50% of the total votes, then they're automatically elected as a representative from in either the House or the Senate. But if no one breaks that 50% mark, then the candidate in last place will be eliminated from the race, and his supporters will have their next choices counted, being second or third choices, and his votes will be redistributed in accordance to whoever their voters ranked as number 2 or 3 on their ballots. And that process continues until one person reaches the 50% threshold to be elected. And this works very well for gubernatorial elections. It can work well for senatorial elections as well, using it as a means to elect your senators to represent you in the U.S. Senate. And that is what ranked choice voting is. So now let's go into some of the opposition. Now let's go into the people behind this campaign, the people who support this ballot initiative. Yes on 83, the people who are behind the Yes on 83 campaign that would institute semi-open primaries and ranked choice voting for the residents of Washington, D.C. So, notable officials, the former Ward 8 D.C. State Board of Education member Marcus Batchelor, a nonpartisan person, and then a DC Council member, Christina Henderson, an independent. Those two elected officials support 83. An organization known as Rank the Vote DC also supports this initiative as well. So, and as I go into some of their argument, some of the supporters' arguments here, according to Lisa D.T. Weiss, the initiative proponent, and as I quote her here, is that we would be rewarded with politicians who must work hard for our support. I strongly believe the combination of open primaries and ranked choice voting gives candidates and elected officials more independence and freedom to be true to their values and accountable to their constituents. And so what she's ultimately saying here is that combining open primaries and ranked choice voting, it would allow candidates and elected officials to be more independent and free to express themselves however they pick. They can ultimately be true to their values and also be accountable to their constituents. And that's why Lisa D.T. Weiss supports Initiative 83. On top of that, Philip Pannell, treasurer of Make All Votes Count DC, also supports ranked choice voting. And as I quote him here, I have been a supporter of RCV for over 20 years because not only does it guarantee that the winner of an election would receive a majority of the votes, but it is a process that encourages minority candidates and injects civility in elections. When candidates are ranked by voters, the slogan that every vote counts takes on an even deeper, concrete, mathematical meaning. Also, if you are a candidate who wants to be a voter's second choice, it helps if you not engage in negative campaigning. And so what he's saying here is that it would encourage more minority candidates to run and inject civility in elections. And that is actually true. He is absolutely right about that point. Mainly because under our current voting system known as first past the post, minority candidates, being third parties, independent candidates, they are largely viewed as either spoilers or randomizers. And I talked about the current role that third parties play in our current political system in my book review video of Maxwell Stern's book, Parliamentary America. Here's the video. Here's this video. Check it out over here. In which third-party candidates are under our current voting system, first past the post, are largely viewed as spoilers, and a vote for any of them would mean a vote for the person that you really, really hate. And that's how we produce a system of minority rule. And that's how we also have a system of negative campaigning and just dirty political campaign ads where people are talking trash to one another because the overall goal under first past the post voting is to divide the opposition and keep your side intact to win. That's not how elections should be. Candidates should make themselves look good. They should be able to stand on political positions. They should be able to have their own stances of where they stand on political issues. They should have their own policies of how they would solve those issues, and then they should also be seeking to. They should also be encouraged to be more civil to their opponents and friendlier and nicer to their opponents, to build coalitions to ultimately ensure that everyone, the majority and the minority factions, are fully represented within our government. And it's why I support ranked choice voting overall, to bring a sense of coalition building back to our politics once more. And because right now our current voting system is not working. It's not. And we're seeing that right now with the negative campaign ads we're seeing in 2024, especially with JD Vance. The guy running to be the next vice president under a Trump administration, and he called Democratic leaders childless cat ladies, and he's using those phrases to denigrate the other side, to divide the other side, to ensure that his side is intact and the opposition's completely divided so that his side can win. We definitely see that with Tim Walz and Kamala Harris's side of the campaign, where Tim Walz is saying, calling JD Vance a weirdo, and also Kamala Harris saying, I'm a former prosecutor, and I know, and I have prosecuted convicted felons, and I know Donald Trump's type. Those type of negative campaigning is a symptom of first past the post voting, because both the two major parties, their goal is to keep their side intact and divide the opposition, divide and conquer. And that is exactly why I'm supportive of ranked choice voting, mainly because I believe that it will get rid of the negative campaigning that we're seeing in our politics. It will decrease the negative campaign we're seeing in our politics, and incentivize people to be more civil and respectful to their opponents when they disagree with them on certain issues, as an attempt to build coalitions with their voters. Because if you're supporting a candidate that has that doesn't have enough votes to be elected, they can encourage them. One of the other candidates because under ranked choice voting rules, you can still vote for your first choice. You can still vote for one candidate as our first choice if he's our most favorite candidate you would like to see elected. But if he doesn't have enough support to win, you can still rank backup choices to ensure that your vote isn't wasted, and to ensure that you have candidates, to ensure that you have a candidate elected that can represent you also. And that is exactly why ranked choice voting it promotes civility and to build and to reward candidates that stand for something, but also campaign beyond their base to truly build to ultimately form a governing consensus to be elected. And that is why Philip Pannell, the treasurer of Make All Votes Count DC, supports ranked choice voting. Also, Make All Votes Count DC also made a statement in support of ranked choice voting by saying, ranked choice voting has proven results. It elects more women and people of color. It reduces strategic voting and pressure to vote for the devil you know. Ranking is natural and easy to understand. Helps reduce toxic or negative campaigning. Makes citywide politicians have to campaign beyond their base and across the city, forcing them to go east of the river to build broad coalitions. Ranking preserves native Washingtonians' voting power and combats political displacement by letting communities vote for backup choices without harming their first choice. When they implemented ranked voting in Oakland, California, black representation was maintained despite severe gentrification and population loss. Candidates have to build a coalition that includes first and second choices. You can't win with only second choice votes. And so what he's ultimately saying here is that ranked choice voting has great results at electing more women and people of color, which I believe is ultimately a plus. I believe increasing minority representation is ultimately a plus because part of democracy is that you have a majority and minority faction. Both factions are imperfect. And you need that balance of majority to ensure that the majority is entitled to a certain degree of primacy of society where they can at least govern and pass legislation to improve on people's lives because they were elected into government. But you also have a minority faction that is there to hold the government accountable, that's able to hold them to account and to express their disagreement with them on major policy issues. And that is what ranked choice voting can bring to ensure that both sides of the political spectrum, the majority and minority faction, regardless of what state you live in, to ensure that everyone has the freedom to elect someone that can represent their values in city council, to ultimately represent their values in their city council. And as I once said earlier, it also reduces strategic voting because people are no longer feel pressured to vote for the lesser of the two evils as well. And on top of that, he also makes the argument that ranking is natural and easy to understand for voters. And that's 100% true to be honest, because in 2021, Alaska used ranked choice voting, and over 85% of Alaskans reported RCV to be simple. 95% of Alaskans reported receiving instructions on how to rank their choices. In a super majority of voters, 66% ranked multiple candidates. And of the 33% of voters who only voted for one candidate, 75% reported the reason was that they only liked one candidate. Was that they only liked just one candidate, which is also permitted because under ranked choice voting, you can still vote for one and still be done. No one is forced to rank multiple candidates. Which goes to show that ranked choice voting is natural and easy to understand for the voters, because we're constantly making choices because we're constantly making choices and making decisions that will improve upon our lives overall. And as I just said, it helps reduce toxic or negative campaigning because it encourages candidates to build coalitions with others. Because so if it rewards those candidates to want to reach out to their opponent's supporters by saying, hey, if you're not going to be my first choice pick on your ballots, consider ranking me as your second or third choice, because I will also be a fighter for you on city council. I will be a fighter for you. It makes citywide politicians to campaign beyond their base and across every area of Washington, D.C. It allows everyone to be represented and to be heard within our government. And that is exactly why people like Make All Votes Count DC, why Lisa D.T.Y.'s Philip Panel, former Marcus Batchelor, and Christina Henderson, that is why these people, the supporters behind Initiative 83, are supporting this initiative and why they encourage you to vote yes overall. But like every other solution that is proposed by the government or proposed by one side, you're going to have your critics. You're going to have the people that oppose you all the time. That's just part of democracy. You have your supporters, and then you have your opposition people as well. So let's go into who is opposing this initiative. The Democratic Party of Washington, D.C. strongly opposes Initiative 83. On top of that, Renee L. Bowser, a local activist, also strongly opposes Initiative 83. Because according to Renee L. Bowser, and as I quote her here, this initiative would counteract the voice and ability of the Democratic Party to put forth candidates whose voices and policies reflect those of the Democratic Party. So what she's saying here is that allowing people who are not registered with the Democratic Party, allowing independent voters who are not even registered with that political party, who are not registered with the Democratic Party, that would counteract and dilute the influence of Democratic Party members to put forward a candidate that would reflect their values and their policies overall. And I have to completely agree with this argument, mainly because as you may know, I am strongly against these open primary elections, why I'm against top 4, top 5 primaries. I believe political parties should always have a First Amendment right to be free to choose of how they want to nominate their candidates, without interference from another political party, without interference from the opposition side. They should be free to nominate their candidates however they choose, without another party member and even without independent voters playing a massive role in nominating their candidates. Political parties should be free to decide of who they want to nominate. And it's why it's ultimately why I support just completely getting rid of primary elections overall and deregulating primaries overall and just having the state parties to run their own conventions in nominating their candidates, in nominating presidential electors in the Electoral College, and why I support just a state party convention because in my opinion, I believe primary elections are to blame of why we're seeing polarization in high levels, mainly because of the side effects that it can bring. And one of those areas is this is a symptom of first past the post, and it's why I do support ranked choice voting and other majoritarian voting systems such as star voting and approval voting. Is that one of the main flaws, and this is why Donald Trump was elected. There's two reasons why I say Donald Trump was elected and ultimately elected president. It's because in the Republican primary field in 2015 and in the 2016 Republican presidential party primary, the Republican presidential primary in 2016 was fragmented. You had a bunch of different candidates running. You had Ted Cruz. You had Marco Rubio. You had John Kasich. You had Jeb Bush, Ben Carson, Rand Paul, Chris Christie. You had all sorts of candidates. Carly Fiorina. You had a hyper fragmented field, and it allowed for a fringe candidate like Donald Trump to exploit that crowded field to earn the Republican nomination with just 44% of the vote. And it's why in some primary states he was able to win. If you look at it, how it was in South Carolina, in the 2016 Republican presidential primary, Donald Trump only got 32% of the Republican primary vote in South Carolina, yet he took 100% of the delegates in South Carolina. And that's one of the symptoms of partisan primary elections with plurality voting, is that it rewards charismatic leaders and extreme ideologues to get in, to hijack one party and to ultimately to hijack one of the parties, to hijack the conversation overall. And that's what Donald Trump was able to do. He was able to hijack and exploit a hyper-fragmented field to win the Republican nomination in 2016. And on top of that, there was another reason why Donald Trump was able to win the Republican nomination in 2016 as well. And it's one of the reasons why I'm strongly against open primaries overall, and why I just support just going back to state party conventions and allowing them to choose and decide of how they want, ultimately allow parties to choose and decide of how they want to nominate their candidates for the general election. And that is the reason, and this goes into the second reason why Donald Trump was able to win the Republican nomination in 2016. And that is because Hillary Clinton, she poured money in the Republican primary to prop up Donald Trump. He would to be able to prop him up and to ensure that he sucked up all the oxygen in the media, and to keep his poll numbers high to ensure that he can just win with just a plurality of the vote. And because the reason why Hillary Clinton did that, it wasn't because he was a strong candidate to beat her. It's because Hillary Clinton believed if she could help Donald Trump win the Republican presidential primary in 2016, she believed he would be a weaker candidate for her to beat. That is an example of party raiding, which is a symptom of open primaries, where one party raids another party primary to nominate an extremely weak candidate. And boy, was Hillary Clinton wrong. Boy, did Hillary Clinton make a mistake in the 2016 election. Boy, did she make a mistake when helping Donald Trump secure the Republican nomination, because she ultimately lost the 2016 election, and it's why Donald Trump was elected the 45th president of the United States, because he was able to exploit a crowded Republican primary field because the anti-Trump vote was split, and also Hillary Clinton propped him up in the Republican primary. She was able to prop him up. She was able to prop him up prop him up in the primary, and that's how we got Donald Trump for 4 years. And that's ultimately why I'm strongly against open primaries, and why I do agree with some of the people who are against Initiative 83, because I'm with them. I don't listen. If you decided to register as an independent, that's your decision. You just made your decision is you're not gonna vote in the Democratic primary. That's your decision, and you should not be able to interfere within the Democratic Party or the Republican Party's nomination process. You shouldn't be able to You should never be able to interfere in that. And I understand, and in my opinion is I encourage voters to just find a political party that they affiliate with and help grow that party in their respective states so they can build a more inclusive democracy in their states overall. And that's some of the arguments of the people who are against Initiative 83 and the people who support Initiative 83. So overall, if you vote a yes vote on this initiative, means is that if you vote yes on Initiative 83, you are saying yes in creating a semi-open primary system in which unaffiliated voters can choose to vote in either the Democratic or Republican Party primary, and also you are also allowing for the district to establish ranked choice voting as a means to elect the city council, and also mayoral election as well. But a, but if you are one of those people who are against closed primaries and people who are against ranked choice voting, because I know there are people out there who do not like ranked choice voting, because there are some people who just support plurality voting and who just support star voting or approval voting. If you vote for this initiative, you are opposing this initiative and thereby maintaining the district's closed primary and plurality election system. So to reiterate here, a yes vote would mean creating a semi-open primary system and establishing ranked choice voting for future elections in Washington, D.C. beginning in 2026. And a no vote means maintaining the district's closed primary and plurality election system. But overall, you guys, I support ranked choice voting. I support state party convention type systems in which political parties are free to nominate their candidates without interference from another party in hijacking their nomination process to nominate an extremely weak candidate for the general election, because I'm against that. Because I believe state party conventions and ranked choice voting is the key to a more healthier democracy and to a more representative republic for all. But overall, you guys, share your opinions in the comment section below. Do you agree with me? And if you do live in Washington, D.C., I still encourage you to still vote yes. But if you're one of those people who don't want to, vote no on this initiative. It's up to you, because I support electoral reform. I support amending the U.S. Constitution because it needs to, because to modernize it for the 21st century. But any constitutional reform, any electoral reform in any state, part of the in any state, it should be always fully owned and supported by a majority of people. It should be fully. If you want ranked choice voting, it should, in Washington, D.C., if you want ranked choice voting, it should be fully owned and supported by you. It should always be fully owned and supported by you. If you want it, vote yes on Initiative 83. If you don't want it, vote no on Initiative 83. But I encourage you to still vote yes, because I believe it is better than plurality voting overall. But it goes to show that ranked choice voting it's spreading. It's spreading throughout more states. Its influence is spreading, but states are going in different directions. Washington, D.C. is adopting a semi-open primary by keeping party primary elections intact. Oregon is going in a direction similar to Maine, where they have ranked choice voting for both party primary elections and general elections. Nevada, if passed in 2024, is going in a direction with top 5 open primaries. Idaho, if passed this November, is going in a direction with top 4 open primaries. But overall, it really goes to show that the states are the laboratories of democracy, and they're experimenting of which system is better. And I fully support it. Any electoral reform process, as I said earlier, it should always be fully owned by the people who are residents of the state. It should always be fully owned by a majority of voters. If Nevada votes yes on question 3 in 2020 this November, which I encourage you to vote yes, then that's their decision. That is their decision. If Washington, D.C. votes yes, that is their decision. But if they vote no, that's their decision. And it's okay, because there's always room, because there's many different voting systems out there to create a more representative democracy overall. But I still encourage you, if you live in Washington, D.C., if you live in Idaho, if you live in Nevada, if you live in Oregon, Vote yes. Vote yes on these initiatives. Vote yes on all these initiatives. Because I believe it's better than plurality voting, and it's key, and it's the gateway to a more representative democracy. And it's the gateway to proportional representation, where 40% of the vote means 40% of the seats, 30% of the vote means 30% of the seats, 20% of the vote means 20% of the seats, 10% of the vote means 10% of the seats, 5% of the vote means 5% of the seats, and 4% of the vote means 4% of the seats. But overall, you guys, don't forget to like and subscribe and comment down below. And until next time, guys, this is the Young Centrist, and I am out.